Some of you will die, and there's nothing you can do to change that. But listen, I've been where you are, I've walked this road, I've come out the other side, and you will too. Before we get deeper into this one, hi, my name's Corey, and if you're looking to understand and practice the Christian faith, especially if you're not going to church right now, you're in the right spot. That thumbnail that you clicked said Reading Revelation, because this video is a part of that series. We're doing this because when life gets chaotic or confusing, whether it's political or environmental or otherwise, there's a subsection of the population that always runs to the book of Revelation, trying to find apocalyptic answers for their current chaos. But that's not actually why Revelation was written. In fact, for nearly 300 years before it was ever included in the Bible, the book of Revelation was read by so many of the churches in the first couple centuries that it became ubiquitous. During their own seasons of chaos and confusion, those people loved this book. It did something for them. And this video series is about finding out what that something was and if it could do the same thing for us. In the book, the author, John, has a cosmic vision of Jesus, and Jesus asks him to deliver a message to 7 churches. We did the first church, Ephesus, in the last video, and this one is about the message to the church in Smyrna. First century Smyrna, like any city, had a character quality to it. It had an ethos. It was described by one ancient author as the Phoenix City because it had been destroyed and rebuilt multiple times in its history. It was also conveniently located on a deep-water bay of the Aegean Sea, making it a prime city for commerce and travel. It was the capital for athletic events. It was a hub for the study of science and medicine. It became so prominent that it was chosen to be the home for the temple to Rome, built by Emperor Tiberius himself, to himself, for his mother also, and for the Roman Empire. In many ways, Smyrna's unkillable character made it a place of wealth and prosperity, unless you were a Christian at the end of the first century. Christians in Smyrna had a tough life. Their beliefs and practices meant that they didn't participate in the cult practices of the city, and that kind of put them on the outs when it came to business and commerce. But they also faced a deeper threat. There was tension in the early church between Christianity and Judaism. Initially, Christianity was under the umbrella of Judaism. The main difference was that Christians believed that the long-awaited Jewish Messiah had already come, Jesus. That messianic disagreement caused some theological tensions, but early Christians were also claiming that Jesus was one with God. And that was blasphemous, according to Judaism. Now, remember that temple to Rome that I mentioned earlier? It was one of a few temples in Smyrna associated with worship. There was also the temple to the goddess of revenge, Nemesis, on the top of a mountain, and a temple to the god of healing, Asclepius. Christians, however, didn't participate in the worship of any of those gods. They wouldn't attend the events, they wouldn't celebrate the festivals, or make the sacrifices. And for the cult of the emperor, this was a capital offense. However, in the first century Roman Empire, those who practiced Judaism had a special exemption from participating in the cult of the emperor. Christians then, being a subsect of Judaism, tried to hold on to their Jewish ties in order to claim that exemption. That didn't sit well with some of the Jewish assemblies in Smyrna. So those assemblies would report Christians to the authorities. Christians would then be accused of being anti-Rome and enemies of the state. The punishment for this was severe. It started with prison, but always ended in death. This is the background of what was going on in Smyrna when Jesus sent this message to them. These are the words of him who is the first and the last, who died and came to life again. Now, remember, Jesus starts every one of those letters in Revelation to a church by identifying himself in a way that references John's cosmic vision. He chooses markers that are going to carry some connection to the message. In this case, the one who died and came to life again, which is going to be really significant. I know your afflictions and your poverty, yet you are rich. Now, how can you be suffering affliction and poverty and still be rich? This was a common paradox that the Stoic philosophers of the day employed, and we still think this way too. Material wealth is not the only wealth a person can have, right? In fact, a person might have tremendous material wealth but lack virtue and character, wisdom or meaning, and we'd consider that person poor. Jesus is saying, hey, even though you have very little by way of material possession, you have something else that makes you rich. What is that thing? hold on. I know about the slander of those who say they are Jews and are not, but are actually a synagogue of Satan. Whoa, 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 whoa. You need to understand this in context here, okay? When Jesus says slander of those who say they are Jews but are not, he's asserting that a true follower of Judaism would accept that he is the Messiah. And since these assemblies of Jewish folks in Smyrna don't accept him, he's saying they're not true adherents to Judaism. He then calls them synagogues of Satan, referring to those assemblies who were accusing Christians before the Roman authorities. Now, a synagogue here doesn't refer to the actual Jewish house of worship, but it's a generic term that references an assembly of people, a gathering. And the name Satan literally means the accuser. They become assemblies of accusation, hence synagogues of Satan. Do not be afraid of what you're about to suffer. I tell you, the devil will put some of you in prison to test you, and you will suffer persecution for 10 days. And here's the problem with prison. You only go for 3 reasons. It was to compel you to comply, to renounce your crimes and reform your life, or it was to contain you until trial, which might include some torture to see if you'll give up any of your fellow lawbreakers, or it was to confine you until your execution date. That's why Jesus says, be faithful, even to the point of death, because everyone knows death's coming. All of this, by the way, mirrors Jesus' own final few days before he dies, getting accused, arrested, put on trial, and eventually put to death. It's as though Jesus is coming alongside these Christians as the voice of experience. It's like he's putting his arm around them and whispering in their ear what needs to be said. Some of you are going to die, and there's nothing anyone can do to change that. Listen, I've been where you are. I've walked this road. I've come out the other side. And you will too. And I will give you life as your victor's crown, which is an image that they understand, being a city of athleticism. The victor's crown was the wreath or the laurel awarded to the winner of a competition. Like an athlete, Jesus is saying, hey, hold on, push through, persevere, be strong and faithful, stay the course, and you will be victorious. Besides, you're from Smyrna. You are unkillable. Whoever has ears, let them hear what the Spirit says to the churches. The one who is victorious will not be hurt at all by the second death. The second death? Oh yeah, we'll get to that later. This letter was a sober message, but it was also strengthening. It reminded those who were facing mortality that death is not the end, but that Jesus is the one who's already walked this path and will be waiting for you on the other side with a crown of victory. Okay, so what's the takeaway for us then? Well, nobody's selling me out to the authorities to have me arrested and put to death because of my faith. But it does make me think soberly about people in other places of the world who do experience that. I think we should pray for those folks. But what about me personally? I'm not persecuted. And while I hope to enjoy a comfortable life, I think it means that when it comes to seasons of suffering, I can know that Jesus already walked this road ahead of me. He knows what it's like. He's got his arm around me, not denying reality, but strengthening me to finish the race. And when my time comes to an end, he'll be waiting on the other side with a wreath of victory. And he's got one for you too. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Wait. What about the second death? Ooh, it's something intense. So we'll get to it in a future video. But for now, what does the letter to Smyrna stir in you? Why don't you throw your thoughts on this video and your questions in the comments section. I'll see you in there.